What I found intriguing, there's many pieces to it, but one that really made me pause was that you as a patient can go to effectively you can request your digital health record, and you can extend that out beyond your provider to the business associate, which is us, right, and this provider, business associate, and you can extend that right out to me. And then at the moment it's pretty much any form factor, so it could be a USB or whatever. And I've got 30 days to get you answer this question for you. If we have your record, who has access to your record, and who has accessed your record over a period of time? 30 days to give you that in an aggregated way. So my guess is that, if anything, the administration is reacting quite on the extreme basis of regulation around some of this topic, probably more so than I've seen in other data sets, right? And when I think about it, we've got 2 years to implement that when it comes in August. If it passes, my guess probably will. So how we go about that, and we'll do it, it's going to be a combination of logging and some sort of identity management and something probably new, because candidly, I think the industry is going to think this one through.
We have all the technology in front of us that really is going to be.
No, and it's not that I don't think the cloud has to do this well, because I do, but it's just an interesting thing when you start to think about all the security that surrounds,
There's nothing new here. This is not a new cloud that's there. These are just business relationships that have existed for decades.
And it's a fun thing, because when people talk about the cloud, it's always been there. I mean, the information's always been, there's always been a cloud.
You just said the most profound thing for the entire evening. So we're talking about cloud. Hasn't this concept always been here?
Yes, exactly.
So as I was preparing for this panel, I thought, there's nothing I can really say that's really cloud specific that we haven't already been doing or have put in place already for years.
It's nothing new. The only thing that we're talking about is now everybody is sending all of their stuff out to someone else to take care of. That's the only thing that's different. Is now instead of storing all of your data on your home computer, now people are sending it out to someone else who's got a big, huge farm to take care of it.
But we've always done that. Except about the big IBM mainframes on cards and tapes.
Well, I mean, yes, we did that.
Processing
But
now, and as you touched on, Mike wants to move on, but if we have time, I want to come back to that.
Yeah, could this lady in the back, please?
One of the reasons why I work for eBay, and I'm very, sorry if my voice is too soft, very soft.
Hold on, I don't think everyone can hear you. There you are.
I work for eBay. I'm very proud, but I also work for McKesson. I work for Visa. I work for all you guys. One of the most impressive things about having this panel here, and one of the things I hope us as IT professionals understand, is in reality, the cloud has not always been here. And I'm one person who's directly affected profoundly in my life because these people didn't exist. My mom was a diabetic. Her medical records were not available. She just died in '91. Because there was no interactive capabilities that McKesson provides, there was no communication that existed, i.e. the cloud. The data wasn't available. This beautiful woman died at 49. No one should die at 49 of complications from drug interaction and diabetes. So I hear all of us as professional IT people talking about the technology, but in reality what we do have the ability to save lives that were previously lost. So I'm hearing you guys, and I get the whole security back and forth. It's one of the things that got me into this field, because I care enough, because profoundly the millennium generation, they're counting on us to figure this out. So I challenge all of you, not just our panel, to pay attention to why we're doing this. In reality, we're doing this to make this better for everybody. Just in '97, people were dying. because information wasn't available, information wasn't secure, information wasn't accurate. So I'm here to tell you that this whole panel, you guys decide who gets to live and die, not just in this generation, but in other countries. I've been to many other third world countries where this is nowhere near being figured out. So I hear us talking about identity theft, and I hear all that. But I also watch people lose their lives. So if we could think about the cloud as a tool to get us where we're sharing information and protecting people, because that's what this is all about.
So I think you're looking for, sort of eliminating digital divide, as well as, this humanitarian sort of, one world sort of view. And I hope we can get there. I think, also maybe in traveling to third world countries, you've seen that as human beings, we're often very tribal. And so there isn't the sense of all for one, it's for mine versus yours. So I think, one of the things that because I take it very seriously, I feel like I have a duty to, I probably care more at my company about the data than my company cares about the data. I think that's pretty natural for a security professional. And you wonder, do we need this kind of legislation or these regulations? As Jeff was saying, that's how the finance community, got its structures, because somebody legislated it and we created organizations that would create penalties. Carrot, stick, I'm not sure which one it is. But I think you bring up a very profound point. Thank you.
Yeah, I think moving forward, the work to be done as a person from academia, we can probably make accomplishment and provide more services for other people. There are many research that could be done. A lot of fundamental components that is not there. May that be CA structures, may that be how you secure your data values. But that's a good point that I think hopefully moving forward, 2 years down the road, we can do a lot more stuff that we'd love to do.
I think I can speak for every one of us when I say that for me the greatest source of enjoyment I get out of this job is really succeeding at the balancing act of enabling the good but doing it right. And that's what I think we do on a daily basis.
Steve had a question.
Well, actually, it was a comment that basically simplifying the cloud down to something we've always done. I agree with that to a certain extent. You can take that a simple case of an email system, and that's a cloud of a sort. We send email out, and we have no idea what servers it goes through before it finally lands at its destination, or how many copies are made out there en route, how many system administrators climb into that, and so forth. But we do have some control over how it goes out. So I think and what goes out, if we want to. So we can manage that, we can control that. I think the scale, the scope, and just the overall diversification of the types of data, how it's going out, is the major deal with the cloud. So granted, the basic concept is true, and I wouldn't fault that. But in terms of the larger scope of it, how we manage it, and so forth, we're being really challenged. Just like trying to manage virtual servers has been a challenge for us in server consolidation efforts for quite a few years. We're still trying to do that. We don't do it well. But I think that the cloud presents real problems that I think involves multiple disciplines, and they all need to start working together. It starts with the architects, works, and security is involved in the whole process. Goes through the entire IT organization, and everybody has to, pull together and figure out how to do this. Given the hacker threats that we got, and the orders of magnitude and the different types of people coming in at us, like has been so nicely demonstrated tonight, very surprising, very revealing. But I think that it just really begs for more attention and more collaboration between various disciplines within IT. And I'm curious about how you might initiate something like that. from your own perspective. If you agree with it, if you don't agree with it, then fine.
You raised some very classic, tough questions. We all know that, as I think as Pat actually mentioned, if you have a private key to actually encrypt your own data, you know this actually is the safest way to go. But as people doing it today, or actually doing something in this hand, the answer is no. And cloud just magnified the problem a lot more. What you described is a classic SMTP problem where you have HTTP asking goes to your map now, but between half the SMTP server, they all in clear text. Between all those SMTP servers, they have administrative that back up. So your email, while you're sending on over, you know that backups are all these coming over. So the only solution is to actually encrypt it the beginning of the email using PGP or whatever, so they can be encrypted. So now the question becomes, we know that's the solutions. How do we actually make it popular in the cloud environments moving forward?
And I think make it easy.
We'll make it easy.
And make it easy.
Now, what is the catalyst?
In some sense, I guess, I count on my data, I guess, maybe using a totally different metaphors, being in the middle of a herd, just lost but safe.
I saw an interesting presentation by a researcher at HP, and they looked at email, and they said, what's email primarily used for? To a large extent, it's primarily used for file transfer. It was a heck of a lot easier to just attach it than it was to teach people how to do FTP and all that good stuff. So that they got to looking at it and say, well, okay, what we really need to have is a secure, easy way for us to be able to transfer files within a trusted environment. And what they ended up doing was rewriting an email application, only this time, at the very core of it, was security. It was written with security in mind. The application was developed that way. So to answer, ultimately, we're like our brain is. We got the reptilian mind is still at the brainstem, and that's what enrages us or causes rage to flow within us. Well, we still got all of these applications that were written, TCP, written without security in mind at all. And now we're paying the price trying to kludge it all up and fix it again. So, how do we fix email? We throw it out and replace it with one that's right in the first place. And the funny thing about it was, they did a survey after they put this new email thing together, and they asked people if they were using it to transfer files, and they said no. And they said, why not? She said, well, we don't feel like it's secure enough. And they said, why not? She said, because we don't have to do anything.
I'm hoping a new discipline emerges, academic discipline, something that combines elements of security, psychology, and economics. Because at the end of the day, many of the challenges we have from a risk perspective come down to, it's either behavioral, it's in the nature of the human being. I love the term reptilian mind. We evolved a certain way, we sharp things off, we have short memories, we take risks, whatnot. So that's one element. And the other element is that it comes down to money. And if we look at technology, it's cheap, it's accessible, the benefit is immediate, it's immediate instant gratification, and I don't think we have a good understanding of the longer term, the truly loaded longer term cost of having secure, compliant environments yet. So, for me, if I look at kind of how security needs to evolve, it's really folding in elements of economics, having a real understanding of modeling, and applying much more of psychology, more like evolutionary psychology, to better understand how we influence change. But influencing change on a grand scale, we have to understand what's the money and how do people think.
I'll just add to that a little bit, just very quickly. So, just to change tack slightly to answer your question, there is an evolving topic. The vendors haven't quite caught up with it yet, to the best of my knowledge. That's circulating around about the security role in what's called sort of behavioral predictive analytics, basically security analytics. And it stems off this idea that, I'm going to quote someone that HTTP is a new network, right? So when you think about our traditional security models, and definitely in a sort of a trust but verify model, which means you've got lots of engineers doing lots of stuff. So you go and assess how things go, and configuration management is part of that. You know, monitoring and event management, all these types of things which are very service management orientated. They've been around for a very long time in the infrastructure side of things. And so we have a lot of preventative controls like firewalls and things that sort of dictate that as well. And so there's this topic now, well, what do you do when the reality is much of what's going on is happening in something you just have to have open all the time, right? Which is that sort of upper layer in this application, so Facebook, right? Or, anybody from Facebook, I'm not trying to call that as being a concern, but I mean, these different applications and how they interact with each other, it's more about, so what can we learn from that? So I'll give you an example of security analytics, and it's going to cause some consternation. So if you're on a corporate network, this one has to define what that is, but if you're in my premises and if you go out to social networking site and I combine that with data that says that we've just rated you as a poor performer this year and which you're playing as an employee, and you've got access to $1 billion fabrication piece that could potentially be drawn down by you, and am I at all curious what you're saying on the social networking side of things? I might be, right? And if you're going across my gateway and you're using my assets, do I have an interest and a right to have a look at that? And if I was to combine all that data together and I'm looking for a needle in a haystack, so it's huge analytics, right? Huge amounts of data, probably doesn't happen very often, but it just has to happen once. And probably in my context, it might come out. I don't have $1 billion fabrication, but $1 billion something else. But my point is, would I be really interested in identifying that before it happened? I probably would be, right? And so, so many issues conjure up. Privacy issues, right of this, right of that, social networking, all this sort of stuff. But in the cloud world, where we're all part of something, each other's thing, right? How much of this can I monitor so that I can analyze it and make some decisions on behalf of my company and my company's customers in terms of protecting their assets? It's a really complicated conversation. Now, fortunately, the vendor space isn't caught up in this idea of this all-encompassing data warehouse, what's analytic engines and stuff. It's probably more analogous to what we're doing in other data areas than perhaps security. But it is moving fast in that domain, and there is a lot of conversation going around. It's all about behavioral analytics, trying to find, this WikiLeaks stuff kind of drove it. There's a lot of concern around the risk all of a sudden, and the reality that we can't, in the cloud environment, particularly with the application layers that are being deployed and utilised, we can't monitor it or prevent it quite like we could in the past. And so it opens up this concern.
I believe it was either colleague at Intel or at Cisco, I can't remember who did some of this analytics related work. They were able to predict a 70% accuracy rate when somebody was about to leave the organization by looking at access to files, in other words, copying files. Where it's basically the assumption most people hamster and steal a lot of information prior to leaving their employer.
Very interesting. Thank you both. Those are actually all of you, because everybody.
All the way down from Safeway, and I don't know if Safeway is doing some things in the cloud or not, but I'd sure like to hear your question.
So since you're on the spot and step up to it, so if I have to go back today, I'll take a contrary view. First off, I'll say I think that this is kind of an inevitability, but it's the economics of the uneducated, if you will, but they're the business. That's what drives the choices and where we're going to invest. And to whatever extent they control IT strategies, that's the way the wind's going to shift. So the challenge is this education concept, but the business people I work for, they don't want to be educated on technology. They want us to deliver their stuff, and they want it to be cheap and effective. Don't worry about the consequences later. It's counterintuitive because we're really brand conscious. So my assertion is that and I mean it is, go talk to my CIO and say, hey, I know we talked to you about the cloud a while ago, but I think the only thing cloud's good for right now is as a cheap sandbox to go play with toys in, but don't dare put anything that has any relevance to our business out there, because from a data perspective, we absolutely cannot manage any accountability for storage, I like the answer. Limited application, maybe more, that'll be interesting, right? From storage to infrastructure to platform and on up to stack, right? You're deferring more and more of that cost, but you're also stepping aside from all the accountability, and you can't manage that things. So there's a pain now, pain later scenario with that until it's mature. So that's my assertion, is that for anybody who cares about their business data, don't do it. So, I mean, can you talk me off the cliff, or is that the current place for somebody in my position to be? Granted, sorry, because I have to turn this one. So somebody said the cloud's always been there. We've always provided these services that we put external. McKesson is a great example of that, right? They're doing this, and we use their services, and you may come into Safeway and get prescriptions, and by inference you're using your services, you may or may not have had that choice, but you chose us. It's our brand that's impacted if they can't manage that. We're choosing them to provide those services for us, and we made that business decision, and it's our brand that suffers if we chose poorly. They've got a vested interest in making sure they do that business well. But if I go to another infrastructure provider, they have no interest in any of that. They don't care about the business that's acting out on their infrastructure. They just care about getting paid, and they have no accountability for giving you any kind of validation that if you ask for who's traced across my systems, they can tell you these are the people that you've authorized and have access to your data. They don't have any interest in even knowing whose unauthorized access has happened to your data on their systems, right? So this is that accountability road, and this is part of why I'm where I'm at. So help me out.
Everything is a question of time, and time drives maturity, these types of things. And I think your approach right now is probably pretty reasonable, which is there are so many unknowns, this industry, like anything. If something's on fire, it's probably some kind of irrational exuberance, excitement, bubble, whatever you want to call it, and the last thing people are going to think about is controls. But we know this is here to stay. The question is, when do you want to enter? So at what point in time? So a strategy may be, let's understand what controls do we need. Let's make sure that we help our partners understand what is it going to take for us to be comfortable with them, help influence bodies like the Cloud Security Alliance, put those requirements out there. But I think at a certain point in time, the economics are going to be compelling, and the delay strategy won't work.
Well, and that's a question as well, that you'll need to ask, what's the cost of not going, and the cost of delaying. If your competitors are, competitive advantage. I mean, that certainly would be one of the questions you'll want to factor into that.
Well, if you don't take the cost out of that, you're going to have to take it out somewhere else, right, to justify still keeping it inside. So at some point it becomes a business conversation.
We'll also look at John brought up a scenario where his client, which is a very decentralized conglomerate, the CIO for the enterprise learned from Amazon that an application one of their subsidiaries launched had become corrupt. Let's suppose that corruption actually happened in the data center in that subsidiary. CIO might never have learned about it, but Amazon contacted the CIO, so in some ways.
Yeah, but the CIO would have known he spun up the application and could have done the items needed.
Well, that.
When I go back to education, okay, when we had this conversation about, cloud being cheaper than doing it ourselves, well, one of the reasons why cloud is cheaper than doing it ourselves is because you're right. There's a lot of things that they just don't want to touch, okay, that we know we have to touch. So when I say we have to educate the business, what we have to be doing an excellent job of is telling them the full value that we are providing them. How we are worrying about not just getting them 2 gig disk space or 2 petabyte or whatever the heck it is, but we're worrying about, what are we going to do to maintain connectivity to that? What are we going to do if it all goes away? We worry about those things and we address those things. And that's the value that we bring to the business. And we've got to make sure that they know all of the things that make us a professional. And all of those things are the value that we drive to the organization. The guy, the CEO of Sony said, all I did was approve the budget. You know, that's all he knew about IT. He didn't know, what he's really saying here, clearly, is he had no idea the value of IT to the brand of Sony. And that was, hey, that's our failure. And we gotta come tell them.
So Segway is a customer of McKesson. And when I think through, without getting specifics, which wouldn't be appropriate, it's all situation. You know, I think when you're dealing with an organization that arguably is the second or third largest grocer and manufacturer of commodity goods in this country, and you're talking about, you know, putting your supply chain on the cloud, yeah, you got a conversation, right? And you got that sort of leverage, then even if you are doing that, I would argue that we're going to see an emergence of providers, and I'd like to think we're one, that will actually tailor to that need. Now, in this instance, that isn't the case, and we're not going to go into that conversation. But the net is there is 50% of healthcare to small business. You know? And so a small pharmacist or a small healthcare provider you know, would like the enticement of an EMR system and some of the benefits that come from that through the administration and other things. And yet they just don't have an IT staff to even support it. So what do they do? And so I think it's very situational. Okay. Now I think though that the same is true for the smaller and the larger, is that there's going to be this emergence of what we call specialized providers. And I think that's where McKesson is. And I think there are others out there where we'll stand up and we'll talk through what will be required to protect certain classes of data, in this case patient health information, RX data and such. Other providers, I don't know who they may be, of a more generic public cloud nature, maybe from the infrastructure as a service market, may not be prepared to do that because it doesn't fit their business model scale. And one could argue there's probably a premium in that conversation as well, right, in terms of the specialists. So I think the cloud's going to evolve, and you know, IT providers will become cloud providers of some type, and they will probably become highly specialized to fit the needs of a customer, right? And I think that's where this is going to unfold, and the economics will drive it, you know, in terms of, and the regulators will probably have to help in that too.
And I think it goes back to what Patrick was saying, time and maturity. You know, it's a situation where, you know, we've been talking about the guys who just do it, they're cheap and don't want to touch anything. You know, there are other people that can do it more cost effectively than you can do it, but they'll do it right. You know, it won't be as cheap as somebody else may, but they'll do it right. And I think what will happen is the maturity of these businesses, the less reputable players, or however you want to phrase it, I don't know if reputable is the right way, but those people that aren't doing a thorough job will ultimately pass by the wayside. Those people that are driving a more effective value and doing it the right way will be the players that will be around long term.
So I think we're pretty much over our time period. One of the purposes of this meeting tonight is to make you aware of some of the possible problems of going to a cloud and being more knowledgeable about some of the things you could look for. Hopefully that may be helpful to you when you go to the office, if not tomorrow, at some future time. However, I wanted to give everyone a chance, since we have this expert panel, for one more question. And something that you can genuinely use that's relevant to what you're doing today. I know, Will, for instance, you asked, I think you asked something along the lines of, okay, if we're only using a cloud for when we have to burst data, and we have a really high level of traffic, how can we secure that better? That was one question I recall. Would everyone like to? I think we've talked about that, you know, over in terms of data classification, in terms of some of the controls. But do you guys have some thoughts around that? Will, do you want to elaborate on that at all? Or
you got it right.
should only burst the public data. So if you have any data that you need to outsource into public cloud to multiple vendors to actually handle the load, you should think through the type of application that will actually use it. And don't do anything, in this case, if you're trying to build a credit card pool that can collect a lot of credit cards at some period of time, public cloud would not be the way to go. But for other things, which is in the public classifications, then you can consider that.
And for me, in that specific scenario, we'll think about, does the data have to persist? So if I can create a moving target, which is I bring up an instance, I do reasonable protection of the data going in, I do some kinds of transformation, I can do some interesting wrappers around the transformation process to protect it as well, and I pull the data back out, and then I shut the instance down. There was a short-term moving target, okay, versus having something that actually persists out there, the data isn't stored out in the cloud. So if I think about it in terms of risks, why not burst, if that's the scenario? And I know that certain hedge fund financial services organizations and others basically in the financial services industry do exactly that. You know, they don't want to build out massive farms of processing power just to basically deal with an end-of-day reconciliation or whatever it may be. If the data is just transient and you take reasonable steps to protect it in transit and while it's being transformed as it comes back, why not?
I think one consideration that you do need to make in bursting is, what restraints might be on that data that you don't have full control over, that you would not if you just send it out to the cloud. And specifically, I'm thinking, what about personal data that should not leave national boundaries? You need to be able to control and take into consideration where in the world that data is. If you just burst it out there and you don't have that consideration, if you haven't taken that into consideration, then I guess I could say that would be a why not.
Yeah, we'd have to help that, so that's my answer.
One more opportunity for a question.
Yeah, I guess I want to add is, if you do burst, you can consider the traditional CDN use case where the content distributed network use case, they do burst. So you can actually really go up and down on a page when, say, like Michael Jackson died, and then the respawn of the contents where actually goes out. But those are the only type of data you should really consider. So, which is news articles, static text, which is not persistence, but anything which is other than that would be concerning in terms of security.
Okay, any other thoughts that you want to take to work with you tomorrow? That kind of thing? Okay, let me announce that we will not be having any meetings in June, July, or August, but or the remainder of June, July or August. We will be having our next meeting in September, and watch out for that one. We're going to bring in some very interesting panelists again, and I think it'll be something that you'll find pretty darn useful. And then the main thing I want to make sure everybody knows about is that we have a rockin' Christmas party every year. And it's all free. You don't charge any admission for it. It's our gift to you, our members. And we would like to invite you to come to that. And I think you'll have a good time. So you'll be getting, all of you that sign up for the sign-up sheet will be invited. So having said that, Jeff, do you have any announcements that you'd like to make or anything in regard to?
Not at this juncture. Sim as well. Honestly, just simply, we've always had trouble getting attendees to July and August sessions, so we even don't even have our July golf tournament anymore. So
Yeah, well,
it will be dark until September, and again, we're in association with ITSM on a lot of things now.
okay. Well, with that, I would like to very much thank you guys for coming down here and giving us of your time and helping people to be aware of some of the foibles of going to cloud. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just make a quick HDI, Silicon Valley HDI?
Oh, yes. Pardon me, I should have asked for your input. So this is the Help Desk Institute, which we're part of. Are we allowed?
Yeah, you can move if you'd like. The Silicon Valley HDI is having a meeting on Tuesday, June 21st, and Malcolm Fry's going to be our speaker, is going to be at Agilent, and we're going to be serving a small lunch and having networking from 11:30. Malcolm's going to start talking at 12:30, and we are having hors d'oeuvres and wine afterwards. So anybody is welcome, it's free, and we'd love to have you all come. Okay? It's in Santa Clara at Agilent Technologies. Okay? Thank you.
We'll also get an invitation to our next meetings, and we'll make sure you know about that.
There's lots of food, so heat up.
So here's the man who wants this? Yes. You bet. Okay.
Good.